I got it.
Okay. Give everyone a few moments. All right. I think we are starting to get everyone into the room. So I am just going to get us going here. We are on time. It's 8:30 and let's go. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another installation and installment, for those of you who like that word, of Coffee Chats with Economic Alliance Snohomish County. My name is Gary Clark, President and CEO of Economic Alliance Snohomish County. We'd like to remind all of you joining today on Zoom, please mute yourselves as you enter the room and drop your name and organization in the chat. We'd love to know who you are and who you work with. So please do that as you enter the room. Also, give us a little insight in that chat on what your interest is here. We have some amazing panelists with us that would like to engage on that front. So it's that time of the year, folks. Many group medical insurance plans are now beginning their renewal process, and individual open enrollment starts November 1st. Today, we welcome insurance industry experts to provide valuable insights into the best insurance options available. Our panel will delve into the nuances of plans, coverage options, and considerations for businesses of all sizes. Joining us today on this topic are none other than the who's who of medical insurance. We have the amazing David Preston. He is the agency partner, Insurance Resource Group. David, are you with us? Can you say hello to everyone?
Yes, hello. I am.
All right. David's also a port commissioner at the Port of Edmonds. So we want to welcome David today. We also have the employee benefits and Medicare specialist from GHB Insurance, Heidi Heikala. Heidi, welcome.
Thank you, Gary. It's great to be here.
Thank you for being with us today, Heidi. And last but not least, although he is hiding his Colts coffee cup from us, we have membership experience BHT Business Health Trust, Matt Childs. Matt, welcome.
Welcome to be here. Thank you.
All right. So to begin today's program, we'd like to give each of these folks an opportunity to tell a bit about their organization and the services that they offer. We'll begin with David. David, Insurance Resource Group, your partnership with Acroshore and all. Please share with us.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Been doing employee benefits for over 20 years now, mostly in the small group marketplace. We also do individual life, disability, and long-term care became a big deal a couple of years ago. Some of you might remember. We did a lot of that on the individual and group side. But Insurance Resource Group has grown up into helping the smaller businesses under 20 employees predominantly. And in that mix, there's a lot of individuals that need help too in that blending of small groups. So we've done that. And then 3 years ago, we partnered up, became an agency partner with Acroshore, which you'll start hearing about Acroshore. It's now one of the biggest insurance agencies worldwide and one of the sponsors of the Pittsburgh Steelers Stadium, which it wasn't my choice, but they're the T-Mobile of Pittsburgh Steelers Stadium these days. So lots of neat things coming, a lot of technology and data that's out there that we're able to access and help clients with. So that's about it for me. Oh, and as a port commissioner, that's a fun thing. It does take some time, but it is a lot of fun at the Port of Edmonds. I think Heidi's next.
Heidi, would you like to share a little bit about yourself?
I would love to. Thank you. So hello to each of you, and thanks for having me here today, Gary, again. Quick intro, my name is Heidi, and I've been helping businesses with employee benefits and individuals with Medicare for about 17 years now. I am also an Acroshore agency partner, And the reason it says GHB is because that's my local arm of support in Olympia, but I'm actually here in Bothell in Snohomish County, actually unincorporated Snohomish County. So I've been here for quite a while. Yeah, and got 2 kids, crazy. My voice goes in and out because I'm always screaming at a volleyball game. So that's my life, but this is what I love to do, support businesses and growing the right way. You know, taking them the direction they want to go. And individuals as well. It's all very personal, all very customized to the businesses. And I just love being a resource and helping people. Education is such a big part of everything. So that's what I love to do. And now David and I get to work together and draw on all these amazing resources that Acrisure as a nationwide and worldwide company give us. It's very powerful, very exciting.
All right. We're excited to hear from you, Heidi and Matt.
Thanks, Gary. And yes, I was Heidi's kind of my Colts cup. I'm originally from Indiana. So my roots run deep there, but military brought me out here to Washington about 15 years ago. Is when I ended up out here and been in the insurance industry for a number of years now. But got a couple kids, live in North Bend and love Washington, and I'm here to stay. But regarding Business Health Trust, we are an association health plan. Really what that means is we take small businesses, pull them together, go to the carriers, and in our case, that's Premera and Kaiser Permanente and Delta Dental and VSP, and say, hey, look at us. Look a lot more like Amazon or Microsoft than we do a 5-person law firm. And so give us better rates and coverage. And so we work with partners like Acrisure. We work with partners. If you have a broker currently, we work with them directly, or we work with you directly as well. And so happy to help. Love small business. Our core value is to be a resource for employers, and we do that in many different ways. So we can chat about that either now or offline. But we really want to invest in your employees and to make your business successful. Yeah, Matt, Business Health Trust. Appreciate you.
All right. All right. Well, before we get started with David's presentation, first off, we'll give him a little bit of room to open up that screen. And then I want to ask each of you on if you're able to share out that this event is happening right now. We'd welcome that. It is streaming on Facebook Live as well on the EAS Facebook page. So David, if we have you queued up.
Heidi, can you go ahead and flick through? And then we're going to have Matt first, starting with the group stuff. We made some changes. Sorry, Gary.
No worries. No worries. We're nimble.
Nimble and agile. So I'll start first with group health insurance. And as I mentioned, Business Health Trust, we aggregate small businesses together to be able to give better rates and coverage. And so we'll go into individual Medicare here in a moment, but specifically for employers in the room. A couple things. Again, we'll go through this quickly, but a lot of folks don't know that you can actually get group health insurance at a very small level. You don't have to have 20 employees to offer group health insurance. So as long as we have 2 employees, and really this is up to 200. We got a couple hot mics on there, so if you don't mind muting yourself if you're not speaking, that'd be great. And so from size of 2 to 200, and you can go all the way up to Boeing and Amazon, they have their own systems. And then that let me know too that we do have an exception for a solopreneur. So if you own your own business, it's just you, and you give yourself a W-2, then you would qualify for group health insurance. And so something to be aware of. So it goes down to the micro level. Again, something that most folks don't know is that you can start group health insurance at any time. And so we're going to talk a lot about enrollment periods for individual Medicare, which are valid and they're rigid. But for group health insurance, if you've never offered it before, you can start it at any time throughout the year. You don't have to wait till January or another time throughout the year. You can start it, and it'll start on the first of the month. If you already have a current plan rolling, there are options to move to different months to be able to align better, maybe with your budget cycle or with your operational cycle as well. So talk to your broker about that. Make sure it makes sense for what your business operates. For an employee contribution, and so I want to make sure that we talk about this. So from a budget standpoint, most group health insurance plans, the employer has to kick in at least something. So it's not a zero-sum game to the employer. And so in a lot of cases, it's half. So the employer will contribute 50% at least of the monthly premiums of the employee, and the employee can fund the rest of it. And they do that through a payroll deduction. Not all plans are like that, but a lot of them are. And so just be aware that when you're talking with your broker, that there are different options. And many times the employer is required to pay something towards those employee premiums. You're going to hear a lot of terms, HSA, HRA, FSA. There's a lot of just different stuff in the mix. And what those all mean is HSA, health savings account, HRA, health reimbursement account, and FSA, flexible spending account. Those are just mechanisms by which you can either post-tax or pre-tax fund your medical needs, okay? There's too much information here just to go into detail at this point, but if you do want to talk more about this, happy to chat. I know David and Heidi will be excellent resources as well. And so again, these are mechanisms that either the employee or the employer can fund, and then the employee is the beneficiary, and they can actually use those resources and funds to then fund their own medical expenses. And a lot of times it's tax-free. And then finally, there's many different ways to get health benefits, specifically as a group. A lot of folks go direct, which means you go directly to Premera, directly to Kaiser, directly to Regents or other insurance providers. And that's a fantastic way to do that. Another option is a association health plan, AHP, and that's what Business Health Trust is. There's others like Business Health Trust in the marketplace, but again, what we do is we pull together many businesses, and then we go and say, hey, look at us. So now we have a lot more employees. Insurance companies love that because we're talking about risk, and when you put together a lot of people, the risk becomes lower. Thus, the cost will become lower. And so one option is with the AHP, you don't get rated just as a 5-person law firm, because that's how it's going to happen when you go direct. And so it's a nice option from a pricing model to reduce your costs. And finally, the third option, which is becoming more popular, but it's not huge in Washington State yet, is a PEO model, professional employment organization. And so what happens in that case is similar to an AHP. They pool together the risk, and then the main difference is going to be they put the employees on their books from a liability standpoint. Again, a lot of information here. Happy to chat offline about it, but we'll go to the next slide here and chat about some other options here. Heidi, if we can scroll to the next one. Many times with an association health plan, you're going to have extra things. Okay, so first things first, association health plans, you have to be a member of whatever organization that is. And so for us, we have a fantastic partnership here with the Economic Alliance, and so we really have two rules. One, you pay your bill, and two, you join the Economic Alliance. As long as you do that, you qualify for Business Health Trust. And so that's really the strong partnership here. And so we want to make sure that, one, it just makes sense to get plugged in at a local level. And so joining the Economic Alliance is a fantastic way to do that. And oh yeah, there's an extra benefit of health benefits if you're an employer by joining. The logos on the screen, Behavioral Health Systems, Archbright, and Passport, those are just free things that once you have health benefits through us, through Business Health Trust, you get free or access to. Behavioral Health Systems is an employee assistance program. And so in our case, you get 4 free visits for you and each of your dependents. You can go out and use it basically for anything personal. So we're talking financial assistance, mental wellness, counseling, parent-child coaching, really whatever you think of on the personal side, Behavioral Health Systems can help, and it's free with us. Archbright is an outsourced HR tool that's coincidentally based in Seattle, but they're a nationwide company. And so they have fantastic HR resources to include a hotline, which is going to be free for you. All you do is call a number, talk to a human, and ask any HR question, and you do that for free. So for small businesses, it makes a lot of sense, specifically when you're wearing multiple hats. And then lastly, Passport Corporate, if you're not familiar with that, it's like a membership-based discount program. So you go to a restaurant and use your Passport Corporate card, and usually you get a buy one, get one free, or you get discounts on travel or online retail or different retail locations. Every single employee gets a Passport Corporate card, regardless as if they have medical enrollment or not. So just because you're a Business Health Trust member, this is a benefit for each one of your employees. So fantastic benefit. And we really care about our employers and our employees because we really want to be that core resource to employers. Appreciate this, and we'll turn it over for the next slide.
Just wanted to comment that Passport card's great. There's a restaurant downtown Evans that I go to. I could go every day and get 2 for 1, which is really nice. Also wanted to just hit back on the HSA and the HRA, the health reimbursement arrangement. Those are great tools. And on these benefits, one of the things we want to get people to start thinking about is a 5 to 7 year strategy. If you just think as your renewal every year, there's a trend of 7% every year. So rates are going to double every 10 years or so. But start thinking about doing some different things today that would take that trajectory and lower it. So the health reimbursement arrangements, one example, and HSAs are, where I've had to have groups where we moved them from a low deductible to a higher deductible, like from 500 to 2,000. There's enough premium savings that the employer can make money available if there are claims. And if there are not claims, the employer can keep that money, or in the case of a health savings account, the employees can keep that money. So there's some different strategies out there for that. So Heidi, you want to roll us to the next one? Oh, that's me. Sorry. Thanks. So in Obamacare is what a lot of people consider individual insurance these days, and all this stuff going on. And it's been over 10 years for that now. But in Washington State, the primary way to get it is through our exchange. The logo's at the bottom there. And every once in a while, I get people calling me and say, well, I went on to the exchange to try to get some individual insurance, and I got people calling me like crazy. You weren't at the right website. So there's some fake websites out there that look like that logo that aren't right. So nobody should be calling you. It's something where you go to the health plan finder. You can do it all by yourself, with or without a broker. If you use a broker, it doesn't cost you anymore. So there's an advantage really to using a broker to help you guide through some of those things and walk through the many nuances from networks, which doctors are covered, which hospitals, those types of things, because not all the individual plans cover all the doctors and providers. So it's important to wade through the different networks and drug coverage and things like that, nuances and out-of-pocket maxes and things. And again, I want to flip back to, with all of the plans we're talking about here, if there's an exception, let me know, but there's no pre-existing condition. So if you have a current health condition, that's not an issue. It's going to get covered. But if you are changing plans, you might have new deductibles or something like that. And I had a question for you, Matt. What's your busiest renewal month of the year for the BHT Trust?
We're heading right into it. October, November, December are the busiest times of the month, just because of the volume, because most people have a January renewal. Doesn't have
January 1st.
You have a January 1st renewal.
But you can do any month of the year.
Absolutely.
Okay. So then with the individual marketplace, open enrollment are the dates there. You can see the OE. So those are your dates. Whatever date you sign up for the plan, then your plan would start either January 1st or February 1st. So if you linger into January and pick a plan January 10th, your coverage is going to start February 1st. So just so you know, I just want to reiterate that. Don't mean to be reading my slides and whatnot, but the reason for using the exchange primarily is you could get some tax credits. So get some assistance with the premiums. You can go direct to Regents and buy a plan with or without a broker outside of the exchange, and that's an option. But if you do it within the exchange, you may get a tax credits, and things might be different next year from this year. I have clients losing jobs in between jobs where then they get some tax credits, or they get on Apple Health with Medicaid, and then it helps them financially with the premiums. And I think let's flip to the next slide. That's Heidi's slide. So I think that's it. Heidi, do you want to pick up anything I might have missed on the individual side? Because I know you know that market a bit too.
No, just that, people just need to know it's still in existence and it still gives tax credits. I think that's great. In between jobs, you can go in and out of it.
Right.
Can eligibility drop for tax credits? That's one question, maybe.
A lot of people are coming off of Apple Health and needing to go on to a plan. And there again, contact your broker or a broker to help you with this. Don't try to do it alone. Navigating the exchange can be difficult. And most of us brokers have kind of an inside track to some support at the exchange, so we can get some answers a little bit quicker. So don't get if you're frustrated, pick up the phone and get a hold of a broker.
Right. And I can attest to that, because as soon as this Obamacare Washington Health Fund Finder came out, I jumped out of the individual market because it was so complicated. And God bless you, David, for sticking it out.
Okay, Medicare.
So, all right, let's jump into Medicare. As with individual, coverage. Timing is really critical. And so I like to tell people that have at least started the conversation with me that 3 months ahead of anything you want to do, whether it be moving on to Medicare or retirement or wherever they're at, if there's a life change coming up and they're leaving coverage or they're turning 65, let me help you with a game plan. Okay, let me just at least give you a timeline that you need to be thinking of and looking for, because Medicare is quite a beast. And the first time around, when you're starting down that path, it's really overwhelming. So my job is to come alongside people and just kind of help them ease into that. There's a lot of nervousness around it, and there's a lot of unknowns. So there's a few different periods where you can join Medicare. And if we don't time it right, they're just so great. And they give you penalties for not joining when you should have joined or when you could have joined. There's also implications if you are on a group plan that's an HSA. So you need to time ending your contributions to the HSA, you know, in a certain amount of time prior to joining Medicare. So initial enrollment period, IEP, is 3 months before you're turning 65. The month of your 65th birthday and 3 months after. You've got this enrollment window. Medicare is considered Part A and Part B, and that's what they're referring to when we say Medicare. Okay, it's just nothing more than health insurance offered through the government. You can start that 3 months prior, and then up to 3 months after without any penalties or things going on. Now, people that are still working and turning 65, that's a different scenario. They need to delay Part A and B. Okay. So I can't go into all the nuances of Medicare today, unfortunately, but I do Medicare 101s monthly. So our contact information will be out at the end of this, and you guys can contact any of us individually with more questions. But getting back to this annual election period, that's coming up. This is crazy time of year. This is nationwide enrollment. So for everyone that's on Medicare right now, this October 15th through December 7th is when you can change plans. And then that new plan takes effect January 1st. Things that will make people look at other plan options, because there's a ton of carrier options in the Medicare world. Like dozens and dozens of plans. There's network changes, right? Carriers jump out of being involved with one network. Drugs change, so people might want to look at another plan that covers their medications better. They've moved, things like that come up. So that's open to everyone nationwide, October 15th through December 7th. Okay. And then lastly, there is OEP. This is an open enrollment, additional open enrollment that just came into existence a couple of years ago. That takes place January 1st through March 31st. That allows people another opportunity to make a few changes to switch from Medicare Advantage back to original Medicare and a Part D plan. So this has kind of been a good thing over the years. There's a lot of switching going on, but network changes, you know, Evergreen will come out in February and say, hey, we're no longer taking XYZ carrier. And then my clients and those, you know, around the they get the opportunity to find a plan that's going to allow them to stay with their provider, which is a very big deal. We want people to be able to continue to see the doctors they've always seen. So you also have a, you know, just like in the individual world, you have a special enrollment window too if things change, like you've moved counties, or your institutional, you know, you go into a facility, a long-term care facility, things like that. That gives you another open enrollment window. So there's quite a few things to navigate. All that to say, contact a broker, myself or otherwise, a Medicare specialist that can kind of walk you through next steps before you're in it and you're feeling anxious. Just really quickly, when you are getting into Medicare Part A and B, I already mentioned that that's original Medicare. Okay. And so what most folks do, because Part A and B kind of leave you with a lot of expenses if and when you're using that medical care. So people will add on a standalone supplement, also known as a Medigap plan, and then they'll add on a drug plan. That gives us the whole picture. That checks all the boxes, right? Because you need drug coverage and you need coverage to fill in the gaps that Part A and B leave you, because it's quite expensive when you get when you start using your benefits on Part A and B. Again, a lot to that, but can't cover it now. The other option, so it's either or, it's not both, is you take your Part A and B and you get a Medicare Advantage plan that has integrated drug coverage. And so you're only getting one plan when you go that direction. That's where all of these plan options lie, and that's what can get a little bit sticky. So let someone like me or another Medicare specialist help you navigate that. Look at your doctors, look at your medications, make sure you're covered. Okay, I think that's it. So I'll hand it back over to Gary.
All right. Some great information. And now I'm going to ask that before we begin our chat conversation and discussion with the panel, that each of you who are on screen, please feel free to ask some questions in the chat. We want this to be kind of organic, but please feel free to ask questions and we'll try to get to those as needed. I'm going to open this up. As you see, we're going to take the presentation down, and then it sounds like someone might be giving feedback on here.
And then I want to say a couple of things while questions are coming in, Gary.
Sure.
As to what Heidi was saying there too, this is the time of year very soon where you'll start to see television commercials for Medicare Advantage plans explode, and you'll get really sick of seeing a couple of different stars on TV, Medicare Advantage. So that's a whole nother area. So some of them advertise, some other plans don't advertise. So be aware and take that kind of advertisement with a grain of salt. They're spending millions of dollars to get you to call them, because you have to call them.
So I'm sure we'll be seeing Peyton Manning from the Colts on TV.
Another thing is that as your employer, you might be at a group with an employer, Boeing or something like that, and you're changing plans. You might have some options in different plans. So be aware of that. And talking to HR could be helpful there. And then what Heidi was talking about on Medicare, maybe that doesn't apply to you now, but it might to your parents or aunts or uncles that need some help and guidance with Medicare. Don't let them go it alone. It can cost them a lot, and you don't want to find out at claim time.
Okay. Well, let me go ahead, Matt.
And I was going to add on to that, because as Heidi was talking from a Medicare perspective, as that links to groups, all right, you're going to have some employees who are getting close to that Medicare age. So really, once they're hitting 60, call it 62, 63, 64, these employees need to start having those conversations, because Medicare can be complicated. So getting with a person such as Heidi and other Medicare brokers that are around as well, but to find that great resource, because as an employer, I hate to say it as callously, but as you move folks off who are in those 60-year-old type range that are getting close to Medicare, your rates will actually, you as a group, your rates will actually go down, because insurance companies are looking at that as unfavorable risk, and because they know that the Medicare is going to take care of that. So from a cost standpoint, figuring out that balance, we want to make sure people get the care that they need, but it may be prudent to start having conversations, call it, Heidi, February, March, when it's not as so busy for you, with your employees, to be able to say, okay, so next enrollment cycle, let's consider some of these. And so having maybe an employer sponsored Zoom session or lunch and learn or something with Heidi. I'll let you talk on that, Heidi.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I actually just scheduled one yesterday for a group that's looking ahead, right? They're dealing with their renewal, their group renewal. And they said, oh my gosh, we brought that to their attention. You've got 8 people turning 65 in 2024. Let's get on a Medicare 101 Zoom right away and get a timeline together. There's an employer standpoint to look at this from, and an employee standpoint. It is right. 99% of the time it's beneficial for both of them to look at Medicare and start making those transitions off the group plan.
Okay, quick question for each of you. What are some of the key factors for individuals choosing individual Medicare insurance plan to ensure it meets their specific needs and budget?
Sure, I can take that. So it's very important, and this is kind of my job. This is the part where I jump in. Very personal process, right? So I do the Medicare 101 and give that on an individual basis or, for a group of people. And then what we do is we kind of take that conversation offline and say, okay, let's look at your doctors. Let's look at your prescriptions. What's your health been like? What do you anticipate? I mean, we don't have a crystal ball, but let's look at all of that. That's important. Medicare does cost money. It's something a lot of people are surprised by when they get into Medicare. Costs money to have Part A and B. Okay, so we need to factor that into your budget, and then look at what else you can afford for premiums and for copays that you might be anticipating. That's really important.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that, David or Matt?
No, I think that covered it for me. I'd agree.
From a group perspective, there are options that, depending on your size of your group, you can offer actually multiple plans. And so you have employees who, not one size fits all. And so depending on the size of the group, maybe 2 plans may make sense. Maybe a high deductible plan for some, more of a catastrophic level, and maybe more of a traditional plan with a lower deductible. So for maybe folks who use insurance quite often. And so understanding the concepts and making sure that the costs range. Because again, a little nuance. If you have a population of 10 people and as a group, they may be one rate. But once you start splitting them off into multiple plans, then those rates shift around a little bit because of who enrolls in which plans. We just want to be considerate of where people are enrolling and what those costs are. And again, your broker can have those conversations with you.
So that alludes to the next question that I have. And that's tied to if you are a business owner, exploring group medical insurance options, what are the advantages of associated health plans, and how do they differ from traditional group plans?
Yeah, great questions. Good for me, sounds like. Again, like I mentioned, we are pooling risk. And so when you, as a 5-person manufacturing firm, go to Primera, as an example, in the carrier, they will give you a rate based on your 5-person manufacturing firm. But when you're that 5-person manufacturing firm, joining forces together with an association health plan and everybody else in that pool. So for instance, Business Health Trust, we have over 1,000 employers. You're not joining forces with 1,000 employers, and that just is a lot of people. It's a large risk, and the insurance company likes that. So your costs are going to be better, and the plans that are designed, we've actually designed those plans. And so they're a little bit different than what you can get on the open market. And in most situations, they're actually going to be more rich, meaning better coverage for lower costs. That's the advantage really of a association health plan.
Okay.
And I'm a little biased. There are other trust programs out there like BHT, but BHT would be at the top level. They run it well. It's a very healthy trust program. It's run well. They got great customer service. So kudos to them. And then on the individual side, a lot of the micro groups, the employers, I've got a lot of employers that, hey, we're kind of thinking about putting a benefit program together. We don't have anything. Some people are with a spouse, some people have individual. What do we do? And so that takes some time to process through that, because that could be a new expense for an employer. But employers are pulling the trigger on that one in the last couple of years more than ever, because they want to retain and attract new employees. And some people, if you don't have a benefit program, you're off the list to be hired. People don't want to go there if oftentimes if they don't have some kind of benefit program. So just something to think about. So I end up helping a lot of small groups create a group plan.
Okay. Well, another question tied to that is just give us a little insight on any recent changes in healthcare policy and regulations that might impact individual and group medical insurance options. What's out there? What's happening?
There's a lot of changes, but this year I don't see anything made any significant stuff this year other than that's happened in the last few years. You guys seeing anything?
Yeah. So from one thing that you always need to be aware of is again, we speak this on the individual side, but we've seen the individual side is a canary in the coal mine for group health insurance. And so now 2 years in a row, we've got significant rate increases. And this year it's, I think, 9.64, something like that is the average rate increase that we're seeing on the individual market, which means group is going to follow. So we're talking about a 10% increase, and we saw the same thing last year. These are the 2 highest levels that we've seen in about 5 years.
Sure.
Okay. So we went down through COVID, kind of rates started, and now they're climbing again. And so we're hoping that rate stability is going to happen in the next couple of years. So there's one. Just be prepared for a higher price tag starting 1/1. And then the second thing I think always makes sense is we talked a lot about network. And so just be cognizant of the news this time of year specifically, but really throughout the year, of insurance companies and hospital systems and facilities. And so I saw.
All right.
Well, I think one other thing there too is regarding network, like Matt was saying, it's your responsibility as the insured. You have a card in your wallet. And when you go see a provider, it's between you and that provider. They give you service, you owe them money. The insurance company's off to the side as the financing mechanism. And then later in the month, you guys, Economic Alliance is doing the healthcare summit with providers. And that will be the other side of the coin. We're kind of the financing of what they do. But if you go to a doctor or some kind of provider and they're not in your network, you're going to pay a lot more. So that's why they ask for your ID and your card when you walk in. Also ID fraud. There's a lot of fraud now in healthcare too, but you want to make sure they're in your network. So like on the exchange, don't trust the exchange to tell you about the doctors or the pharmacy benefits. You want to talk to your provider or Primera or Regents or whoever, their website, and you want to talk to the provider website or someone at the provider office. So you want those two things to match, because often we get people going and they're like, oh, that doctor's not covered, or they refer me to a doctor that's not in network. That's your responsibility to make sure you have a doctor that's in network. I used to tell people, if you go to the ER, put a Post-it note on your forehead that says, here's my PPO network. Only let me be seen by these doctors.
Yeah, and I think the devil's in the details with health insurance networks. I mean, it is really, really sticky nowadays. And it's one thing to call and say, do you take Primera? Sure, we take it, but are you in network with Primera is the right question, right? That's what I'm telling people. Just be really careful. The devil's in the details. And a lot of times you'll get the receptionist that's like, sure, right? So you need to be asking maybe for the billing specialists in that office.
Yeah.
Because that surprise bill when you're out of network is not fun.
Wow. Yes.
A lot of different networks within just Primera. So it
Yeah.
depends on which network you're in.
Right.
Yeah.
Devil's in the details.
Well, I guess I'll follow that up with, what are some misconceptions about Medicare, and how can an individual, Heidi, approaching retirement age make informed decisions about their Medicare coverage? What do I do?
Right. It's like I said, it's such a beast. It's really overwhelming. I really loved helping people with this because you can just see the burden just melt away. Common misconceptions. It does not cover long-term care. Okay, that is a huge one. When I'm reviewing benefits with people on these Medicare Advantage plans and supplements and how they help with original Medicare, they're like, where's the long-term care coverage? It's not there. It's not meant for that. It does cover skilled nursing care, which is basically rehab to get you back up and running and home and functional. But long-term care is separate. So that's a separate policy you should look at if you're interested in that. Another misconception is that Medicare is free. It is not free. Part A is free if you've earned your working credits and you qualify for Part A. That's your hospital benefit. And then Part B is based on your adjusted gross income as of 2 years ago.
Hold on, Heidi. I say it again. It's not what?
It's not free.
Okay. I'm just making sure.
It's not free. So Part B, there's a lot of folks at the end of their career making the most they've ever made, right? I mean, you've worked your whole life, you're making a nice income. Part B, for most people, they're surprised it costs money, but did you know it can cost anywhere from $164 a month up to $600 a month if you're a high income earner? Yeah. So this is something I'm always trying to get to financial specialists, financial planners. I'm telling them, prepare your clients for this. If they're going to be selling off a big property or they have a windfall, do it before that 2-year period. You do not want to have that $500-$600 price tag for Part B when you're ready for Medicare.
Wow, that's important information. I guess some of the questions that we might have are with the ongoing changes, it sounds like, in the healthcare landscape. How can individuals and business owners stay up to date? Is there an app? Is there something that can keep us up to speed on these things? Any
I'd
thoughts?
say, I'd say brokers. Anybody else have anything else to say? Get with the broker, because typically you're paying for the broker services, whether you access one or not. If you go direct to Primera, they're not going to show you any other options. Brokers can show you all the different carrier options.
Right. I would say, again, work with your broker. A big part of my business is education, keeping my groups informed, insurance guidance, communication and marketing, compliance is huge. Again, you don't want to run into any DOL audits. That's our job, to help keep you out of that sticky territory. But employer communications is huge. We, like I said, David and I are part of Acrisure, huge company, tons of resources. So for instance, I just let all my groups know there is a webinar on Thursday at 11 with our lead counsel at Acrisure, educating our groups on how groups and Medicare actually work together, and the pitfalls and the positives and the compliance and the legalities of it, all of it. So we are just all about pouring resources and support into our groups.
Right.
I'll echo the broker communication as well. Just people in the industry should know, right, what it is. I put in the chat 3 links, and those links actually go to the Washington, many different sites from a governmental level. And so you can go ahead, sign up for yourself if you care to, and you'll get notified of changes within the healthcare industry and others as well. But talk to your broker; they'll be the most knowledgeable.
Good. Hey, backing up to the misconception thing. Also, I think, Heidi, one that I hear a lot is, hey, I'm on my employer's group plan. I'm turning 65, so I've got to sign up for Medicare. I'm like, oh, wait a second, maybe you don't. Do you want to talk us through that a little bit, Heidi?
Yeah, thank you. That is something I hear all the time. No, you don't always have to do that. And it's really a one-on-one conversation. You know, a lot of factors we talk about, what's your employer coverage look like? How much does that cost you? Is it worth jumping off onto Medicare? Do you need a little bit richer coverage potentially? A lot of factors in that. Employers, you cannot force your employees onto Medicare. You don't have any say in that. What you can do is facilitate a conversation and just say, let Heidi talk to you, or another Medicare specialist talk to you about what that would look like for you, what that would cost you. You know, if you've got an employee paying half their premium, it might look really good to get Medicare for less money and richer benefits. 99% of the time, Medicare, shockingly, does have richer benefits when you get A and B in a supplement. You know, I'd kill to be on a supplement between me and you. I'm not there yet. I don't want to be 65 yet, but I also really love the benefits. They're amazing. And so it's really a one-on-one conversation. Is it worth it? Not always. And I'll be very candid with that person and just say, no, I'd stay put if I was you, especially if you have a dependent that's not ready for Medicare yet.
Right. Okay. And you're avoiding the penalty by staying on the group plan. And then if you come off at age 70, you don't have a Medicare penalty.
Right. Right.
So here's a follow-up question on this. For businesses and individuals looking for cost-saving strategies, you know, medical premiums and coverage, how or is there an option or strategy that you all think works best?
I think mentioning that earlier, start thinking in a 5 to 7 year time frame. What can I do over the next 5 to 7 years instead of just the next renewal, the next bad news letter that comes in with a rate increase? And the health savings accounts, the health reimbursement arrangements, FSAs, flexible spending account, all these alphabet things. Also, could I live with a higher deductible? And one thing I get my clients looking at on group and individuals, what's your out-of-pocket max? A big one hits, you got a $50,000, $100,000 bill. Are you paying $8 grand out of pocket? For a really rich gold plan or a bronze plan, you might have the same out-of-pocket maximum. So why not save the premium dollars? You get guaranteed savings of premium dollars. And then if you have a big claim that year, you just pay the extra deductible, but you might not have to pay anything if you're healthy that year. So it's about managing risk for you. How much risk do you want to take on yourself?
And Matt, maybe before you speak, can you explain just how critical it is to make sure that you're aware of what those numbers are? Because I know that there's potential as you get up in age a little bit that you have an injury or an accident or something happens on the job or these things that happen to you, and you have no idea that that's a part of your coverage, or that you don't have any coverage in that space. How important is it to make sure that you're in the weeds on these things?
From our perspective, and then from the employee's perspective, this is something that's not top of mind. And so making sure that get your broker in there, do open enrollment meetings, or maybe a mid-cycle meeting to discuss what the benefits are actually serviced by your plan. And so just education. It's all about education, because business owners are really good at what they do. They shouldn't be great at insurance. That's what we're here for. And so making sure that you bring in the right people at the right times.
And I would just add one more strategy. There is a big, and Matt and David, you might agree with this, pharmacy management is huge within groups. There are so many drugs now that cost so much money for these employees. And a big strategy to that is getting a pharmacy benefit manager on board and just saying, what can we kind of outsource? So this isn't hitting the claims, this isn't hitting the books and driving costs exponentially up. I had a group that had, the owner's wife was on a $20,000 a month medication, helping her tremendously, which is amazing. But man, their renewal was not pretty because of it. So that is a big part of it. Would you agree, Matt?
I would definitely agree. And two comments on that. One, we always tell folks, if you see it on TV, ask for the generic, because that will, it's at least Humira. I think it's a $50,000 drug.
Yes.
Right? You see their commercials everywhere. So if you see it on TV, if you need it, great, get it, no issues. But if you don't need Humira, you need the generic, get the generic. It'll cost you a lot, like significantly less. So that's one. And then the second thing is, my assumption is most employers in the room are going to be less than 50 employees, 50 or less employees, which is called small group. Okay, so there's different buckets that we can put you in. If you're less than 50, you're called small group, and those are called filed rates. So that's just data in and data out. There's no negotiation on that. And so whatever your population is, you plug in the numbers, and then the quotes come back, and that's what your numbers are. Okay, I hate to take the mystery out of it, but it's the way it is. There's another way. It's called underwriting, and you've heard of this maybe in your car insurance. But underwriting, and you can get down to, at least with us, 2 people for an underwriting group with Kaiser and 5 people with Primera. And so even at the small level, you can still get an underwriting group. And why that matters is, though a human touches it, they look at your case, and then they have negotiable rates. And so those rates are actually negotiable. And so when we talk about that, ask your broker, am I in a small group bucket, or am I more in an underwritten product? Because if you're in an underwritten product, push back, get negotiated rates, and you, the business owner, can now just have a conversation about costs.
So Matt, that was my next question actually, is are there specific medical insurance options for small businesses that are not a large employee-based business, and can they offer benefits, competitive benefits that keep them attractive as far as retaining employees?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, and if you go directly to the carrier, they're going to push you in this small group bucket, which makes a lot of sense for groups that are 50 and less. They're out of the box plans, and they're static, but they're great for that size. Again, these underwritten plans, they are fantastic as well. And so you have 2 options when you are less than 50 employees. When you're above 50, now everything becomes malleable. Now you can adjust things. And so there's a lot more flexibility with when you're 51 employees and above. And so again, talk to your broker about what makes sense, and you can customize and design plans around you, the business, and your employees. And when you're less than 50, you really have 2 buckets. Underwritten plans through association health plans would be an option. And again, Business Health Trust is great. There's others out there. And then you have the other bucket of small group.
Can one of you speak to the enrollment and eligibility process for these medical insurance plans? What's the process typically look like to enroll?
Steve, you want to take it?
Yeah, it could be like you could do paper enrollment or online enrollment, but we're looking at often people, employers will say, well, here's our census. We need the data on your employees. And they'll send us like 10 of their employees. And I'm like, well, do you have other employees? Oh yeah, we got 20 others, but they don't want to be on a medical plan. I'm like, that's not what I asked. I need all your employees. Show me everybody and then identify who's part-time. And you can pick what you want part-time to be. Do you want to cover everybody over 20 hours a week or 30 hours a week or 40 hours a week? So the employer gets to pick that timeline or number of hours per week. But we need, as a broker, I need to see your whole picture. Like when you go to the doctor, don't withhold information. Don't withhold it from me as a broker. I need to see the big picture because you might end up having to be qualified for COBRA. And that's a whole nother discussion. But we need to look at that whole deal because there might be ways to do what you want to do and only cover certain employees by class or by number of hours worked per week. But we really need to see the whole picture. So be honest and upfront on your census. The more data, the better. And if we've got zip codes, full names on dependents and everybody, then that could help with some trust like BHT, because they could do a little tracking on finding out what kind of pharmacy drugs you might be taking. There's some little secret data stuff out there that can help with rates. So if you have a healthy group, that will help by having more of the information for everybody. Then as far as enrollment goes, we decide which plan, the employer decides which plan or plans they're going to go with. And then we start enrolling the employees with an individual application for each employee and master application. That takes a few days to do. And depending on where we are in the month, like right now, it's getting to be kind of tough to get a October 1st start date, but it's not impossible.
Okay, well, go ahead, Heidi.
Well, I would just add that, I mean, it's really beginning to end. We're hand-holding this process. We have support team walking you through the entire process. So all the way down to employee meetings, online enrollment for those employees, which is really cool. Internally, we even use Employee Navigator, which just walks the employees really, really well through. Do you want this plan or this plan? Okay, check the box. This is what it looks like coming out of your paycheck, right? And then all the way through the employee benefit guide. These employees need to walk away understanding what they've got. You're paying a pretty penny for your health insurance, right? A big part of me supporting my groups is helping the employees understand how great they have it. You know, your employer cares about you. They want you to have this plan. They want you to stay healthy. And behind the scenes, that's a big employee retention tool. Okay, so beginning to end, all the way through support, you should see your broker more than here's your renewal annually. You know, this is a relationship we want long-term. We want to keep you and your employees happy and healthy and supported.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we're down to the wire here. So I'm going to ask some rapid fire questions and just ask for one of you to answer. And that way we can give you a little bit of time, maybe a minute or so to give kind of a closing remark. So in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic, what changes or innovations do you see that have impacted the healthcare industry and medical insurance options and coverage?
I
don't know that I saw changes there. I just saw that employers really wanted to hold on to their medical. They didn't want to let it go.
All right, Matt, really quickly, did you want to add to that?
Telemedicine. Telemedicine is a fantastic option.
Thank you, yeah.
COVID, and then push your employees or others to it because it saves a lot of time and actually money.
Okay, really quickly, for individuals who have pre-existing conditions, what strategies or resources are available to help them find suitable medical insurance plans that provide adequate coverage and affordability?
The pre-existing condition thing went away in 2010. So we no longer have annual maximums in individual or groups that, you know, cap out and say we're not going to pay anymore. That went bye-bye, along with pre-existing condition waiting periods.
Awesome. Awesome. So can you explain any key dates and deadlines for open enrollment period in Washington State, and what should individuals and business owners be aware of to ensure that they don't miss that opportunity?
Think back to that slide. I don't know if Heidi can pop that up, but it was November 1st for individual through January 15th. And then it would start either January 1st or February 1st.
Okay. Okay. And we'll make sure we send this information out to everyone. Are there any unique or state-specific medical insurance plans or options available during Washington State's open enrollment period that participants should consider exploring, or are there advantages available?
I'd say there's just hundreds of options literally in the individual marketplace between the carriers and deductibles. So looking at the exchange with a broker to guide you through those would be good.
Okay, folks, I'm down to my final question and then we can open this up. What resources or assistance programs are available to help Washington State residents navigate the open enrollment process, compare plans, determine their eligibility or subsidies or financial assistance to make medical insurance more affordable?
I guess we're getting back to the broker again. Thanks, Gary, for the plug. But also on the exchange, if someone's at a low income federal poverty level, different levels, their tax credits can go up, so they get more help. And they got to be careful of that. Don't take too much. You might be taking too much, have to pay it back. But also Apple Health, if someone's really down and out, low income, they could get basically free health insurance via Medicaid, Apple Health.
And that actually falls a little bit into the Medicare world. If someone is low income, they qualify for Medicare and Medicaid. We call that dual eligible. And so they've got specific plans available to them and extra benefits, extra rich benefits for that population.
Right.
All right, so now we've got a little time, maybe a minute and a half or so for each of you just to give a closing remark to our business community. And remember, this goes out on our Facebook page, it goes out on YouTube and through email. So David, why don't you start? Matt, you second, and then Heidi, you give the amazing closing.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, I think be aware of the dates that we went through. They'll be on the slides again. And I guess the frustration level, before you get frustrated, pick up the phone and call a broker, call someone that's an expert that does these areas. Some people do insurance, but it's not this type. Try to find someone that's doing the type that you need. So if it's Medicare, individual or small group, you're going to pay the same price typically, whether you have a broker or not. So I know we try to go to YouTube, try to figure it out on our own. I don't need help. It's the American way kind of thing. Really pick up the phone and call somebody.
And for us, our core value is to be a resource for employers. So there's no cost to work with us. There's no cost to have a conversation with us. We encourage it because at the end of the day, you, the employer, need to baseline your benefits and baseline them probably every year. And so happy to do that, every single year for you. So that way, am I getting a good deal or am I getting the right information? So happy to be a third-party resource as needed. And join your chamber.
There you go.
That's right. That's right. And I would just say, just choose a broker that's going to be on your side, that's going to be an extension of you, that's going to tell your story, that is going to walk side by side with you throughout the year, not just show up at renewal. It doesn't cost you anything to work with a broker. You're basically getting a free partner, an advocate. Choose someone that can help you holistically, education for you and your employees. Just create a resource for everyone that's involved in your company. And someone like us with Acrisure, we just have a ton of resources, so draw on that knowledge. It's free to you, and along with Medicare. So I just was going to pop up the slide where it gives our contact information, Gary, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
People could take a quick snapshot of it if they wanted to. Let's see.
Yeah, grab your phones and take a shot of that. And I want to say thanks to the Alliance. Hopefully this helps some other people, if not just the folks listening today, but in the future, to realize there's some thinking that needs to go around this open enrollment and your health insurance coverage.
All right. Thank you all.
There we go. Yeah.
Really appreciate you all giving this update. This is thanks to David, Heidi, and Matt for an amazing presentation. This is really, really cost-saving information, and in some ways, life-saving information for others as far as their financial elements. So keep that in mind. All right, folks, I have some other slides to share really quickly as we close. David, I think there might be feedback coming from your camera when I speak, but needless to say, it made my voice sound really powerful. So again, we want to thank all our panelists for this amazing opportunity today. Those of you who did sign up for Coffee Chats using Eventbrite, check your inbox later, because this information, the resource that they provided to you, will come to your email, so you can pass that on to everyone, so everyone has a chance to have awesome medical insurance. So we actually have some updates coming up on Wednesday, September 27th, and this is from 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the Everett Community College Henry M. Jackson Conference Center. We have the Healthcare Summit, Navigating the Challenges and Opportunities in Changing Landscape for Healthcare. And this is in collaboration with our EASC partner, Career Connect Washington Northwest. And so this is going to be the first healthcare summit presented by the Everett Clinic of Optum. We also have this opportunity for you to find and scan to RSVP. You can go to our website for that and scan the QR. It's at economicaliceiancesc.org for more information. Again, we have another event coming up, and this is our annual event. It is the North Puget Sound Contracting Conference. It is on Thursday, October 26th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Edward D. Hanson Conference Center in Everett. And again, this is powered by our partners at EASC and Apex, which is the accelerator and the Small Business Development Center, to bring to you this North Puget Sound Contracting Conference. Again, October 26th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Angel of the Winds Arena, which is an awesome space for that. Again, there's going to be 100+ exhibitors presenting their businesses, government agencies, prime contractors throughout the region, and a lot of sessions about education there as well. And last but not least, you all know the drill. We go to our galleries page here, and what we want to do is have you come on screen. If you're not afraid, come on screen. And what we'd like to do is just thank our panelists again, and have a few of you on screen just show your coffee cups. And remember, Economic Alliance Snohomish County is here to make sure that our community is vital in economic development efforts. We want to thank David. We want to thank Heidi. We want to thank Matt, even though he has the wrong cup. And raise our hands. Have a great day, folks. Thank you, Rachel, again, and our team. Peace.
Thank you, Gary. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.